Hi, I'm Rebecca Thorson with Assured Title LLC in Siren, Wisconsin. Your closing fee at a title company is going to be applied to both the buyer side and the seller side, and those fees vary depending on the type of transaction involved. Could be a land contract, which would have a slightly different fee. If there's secondary financing involved for the buyer, there would also be a separate different fee for the buyer on transactions such as that. But regardless of cash, contract, finance closings, there'll always be a closing fee assessed to both sides. And to simplify what that cost involves, look at it from the beginning of the file, which means the execution of the offer to purchase. So we receive that from an agent and we review that and ensure that we're making sure that all terms of the contract are met as we move through the closing process. That then goes to our examiner, who'll review the chain of title. Once that comes back to me, the closer, I'll review the closing instructions as contained in the title work and start interacting with the various parties to ensure that you have clear title. So this is going to be working with both the buyer, the seller, could be realtors involved, lenders, contractors, attorneys. So the title company or the closer assessing you the closing fee is going to be that point of contact between all those people, bringing them together, communicating and securing the documents needed for closing. Then executing the closing itself, that would be securing funds from the buyer, dispersing funds out to any parties that would receive them based on titles, such as lenders for loan payoffs, real estate commissions, and then we'll record documents, get the documents back from the Register of Deeds, review them again, do a final search, and then follow up with the buyer with their original recorded deed and final owner policy. Closing statements themselves have changed a little bit recently, so there's a few different formats out there depending if there's financing or not. There's always going to be several sections on the closing statements that have the exact same figure on both sides, both the seller and the buyer, meaning a debit and a credit. Where that happens would be, for example, if there is a propane tank on the property, if fuel needs to be prorated, the percentage left in the tank, the amount last paid, and the tank size are computed. So then the buyer is going to give a credit back to the seller for the amount of the fuel left in the tank up until the day of closing. Another example would be homeowners association dues, either that were paid or need to be paid. So those numbers would be applied to both sides to offset who's owed what for what period of year due for the homeowners association fees. And with that in mind, the other one that causes a lot of confusion on the closing statement would be our real estate tax prorations. In Wisconsin, we're a border state, we're very close to Minnesota. Our real estate taxes are handled completely opposite in both those states, which is very confusing. So Wisconsin is paid in arrears, meaning this current year, 2018, taxes won't be released till November, sometimes maybe even December, and then they're not due and payable until January 31st, 2019 and July 31st, 2019. So with that said, when we close a property, say in October of 2018, we have no way of knowing what is the buyer going to owe for their portion of the real estate taxes for the current year. They haven't even been released, nor are they due. So we take the prior year, prorate it. The seller will be responsible from January 1st of this current year, 2018, up until the day that we close. They give the buyer a credit for that amount, and then the buyer pays the taxes in full when they're released.